Aftershock, Valiant, because I think Aftershock went into bankruptcy. I think it was Chapter 11 where they have to restructure, but they were like $400,000 in a hole. Valiant had to go through their problems as well. And the latest is IDW. And I've been very busy, but I wanted to take a little time out to talk about this. So I do apologize if it sounds a little scattery, but they're doing restructuring too. And I saw like the guy who runs it says something about how it's not because they're woke, it's because of mismanagement. Yet the reason why IDW and some of these companies are actually in the problems that they're in is because they're trying to be entertainment companies instead of comic book companies. Because they're trying to do the Marvel DC method, yet they don't have the Big Daddy Cash ATM on top. And they're writing terrible stuff, which they're trying to do messaging. I'll give you an example. Alright, if you look on your screen, Marvel, and this to me is the embodiment of like 98% of comics right now and the problem. So this person is lecturing the Thing about his privilege with the Fantastic Four. And it made me very angry. Now I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to tell you why it makes me angry. Respectively, sir, you were a cis white male until cosmic rays turned you into the Thing. Your societal estrangement, while distressing, I'm sure, was relatively short-lived. These days, you're a world-famous superhero. You've had dalliances with models and starlets. You're currently wedded to a 2-time National Medal of the Arts winner. I was born like this and abandoned in a dumpster as an infant. I lived in the wild like an animal until I was 10. False equivalencies help no one, sir. Thank you. So, one of the things that I already have an issue with is, first off, stop using the word cis. I'm sick of that word. Stop trying to make it a thing. It's just a male. Secondly, she said cis white male. Okay. She's sitting there saying basically check your white privilege, white man. How about this? The Thing is, he is a Jewish person. You just lectured a Jewish person about their privilege. He's a minority. He was born that way. And also looking that way, a lot of people had problems with the Thing. He had to get himself to be viewed as not monsters. That was Reed Richards' main concern when he first made them a superhero group. It was even mentioned in the comic book. But you're going to sit there and talk about your problems and say, well, my problems are worse than your problems. Everybody has their bad journeys. But the fact that they picked the Thing, called him a cis white male, and just because he was able to bring himself up and become a hero and help people using his abilities, and he happens to date women and stuff, he should be ashamed of it. You literally just told a Jewish person to check their white privilege. And this is the problem with these comics today. They're so busy trying to tell you these stupid messages, making these fake Twitter arguments. They're not even thinking about the character, because whoever wrote this does not realize that this conversation would not work for that character because he's a Jewish person. He is a minority. His people has gone through a lot of crap. But that's the state of maybe 98. This is the method that most of these comic book companies are following, and this is the problem. Now, you can look into Bounding into Comics, where it talks about they even say the comic book or the comic industry has been in a downward spiral over the last decade, with sales becoming shaky as specialty comic shops close. While Marvel and DC have big parent companies to keep them afloat, the smaller publishers are becoming more at risk to failure under current business model, which their business model is, let's make everything entertainment. And when you start to go through it, right? Let's just focus on IDW for a second. I may jump off and on to other companies, but But let's just look at what IDW has. They have Ninja Turtles. They have a top-selling comic book. They have regular Ninja Turtles, IDW. They got the Last Ronin, which is a super success. They have an ongoing Ninja Turtles Saturday AM. I think if I remember correctly, they're going to start publishing a Dungeons and Dragons Saturday AM. Like, they got Godzilla, Sonic the Hedgehog. They have the crossovers with Turtles. I think all 4 of them are just going to be ongoing things because they have Stranger Things crossover next. That's not include the fact that they also did something recently with the Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you know the movie ones are going to get stuff. So they got this big franchise right there with all these other franchises. They lost Transformers because of mismanagement, right? But then you look at IDW 2 and it's like, wait, what are we talking about here? They got Winona Earp, which had 4 seasons. V-Wars sucked, but they still had a TV deal with V-Wars. October Faction, which was canceled after 1 season, and that was because I watched a couple episodes so far, and all they did was put messaging in it. It was like interesting, and then they would put messaging in it, which I did get to check out the comic, and the comic wasn't like that. Lock and Key, Surfside Girls, which is like a mystery with like Ghost Pirates or something, that's going to become a show. Excess County, which I think is a family drama. Grimjack Pirate Sword for Hire is going to be a show or a movie. It's like a multiversal mystery. They got TMNT, Rocketeer, Samurai Rabbit has a cartoon show. So I just named all these things that they have in entertainment, like TV shows and movies, yet they are still in financial straits. You know why? Because they're a comic book company that forgot, just like most of these, forget that they're comic book companies, and they're too busy trying to go for these, we're trying to write scripts and use these for IP farms, and the stories are suffering for it. The comic book sales are way down. It's just crazy. You have people like T. Franklin that put stuff out there. I met T. Franklin once. She was a jerk. Sorry, I don't care if you have these different things. That doesn't mean you don't have human decency. I mean, just go look at T. Franklin's Twitter posts. So you have people like that in the industry. You have people like Heather Antos, who really has not been doing a great job there, but keeps getting promoted. And I think with this new IDW, yeah, she got promoted again. And they're doing weird stuff. Like non-binary Transformers. Now, I don't mind if you're going to do, or like Transformers that are also trans. I don't mind if you're going to put a trans person in there or non-binary, especially if you're doing the story justice. But they did it to the Transformers. That's weird. That kind of decision doesn't make sense. Now, you're probably wondering, oh, you have a problem with it. Transformers can transform into gorillas, rhinos, cars, vehicles, planes. Like, they can transition themselves all the time. It would have been more interesting, in my personal opinion, if maybe they would have, I don't know, done it with the human character and had the human character stand out and be, you know, on that level. But they did it to Transformers, and then they had to like, it was just things that they introduced that was odd. They did odd stuff with G.I. Joe too, with characters that were already there and established. And these are the kind of decisions with these big... Sonic the Hedgehog is huge right now. TMNT is huge right now. Godzilla is huge right now. You should not be suffering. Star Trek has a bunch of shows, but they are. And it really comes down to, you're seeing a lot of these companies really have problems because they're not doing the right stuff. And the fact that their idea is, and trust me, if you look up a lot of stuff with Heather Antos, there was a lot of things that goes with that. They were talking about the poor, I remember they came up with a poor editing job on Star Trek. Matter of fact, yeah, it's on here for the Bounding Comics on the Star Trek, the Mirror War. It's like, there's a lot of things you can look up that she has done. And I'm not trying to pick on her, but she's the one that makes a lot of these decisions. And it's like, this is how you guys decide to fix your business model. You reset. You ignore one of your problems besides the mismanagement. And I want to be clear. There is a difference between being diverse and being woke, as people keep, because they go, oh, yeah, because they're talking about the injustice. Diverse is actually including people. It's inclusion, and it feels natural, and it doesn't feel forced. And I think what's happening is that you keep seeing companies go, ooh, Marvel did it, ooh, DC did it. And the problem is they also have Disney, Warner Brothers, and all these big backings, and these other companies don't. And they have to work on getting people into these things. And I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't think the idea of how they're doing it is the best route to go. I mean, Heather Antos worked for Valiant, right? Valiant is going down. Like, it's just weird. Even DC decided the second time around to pass on her. But she keeps getting promoted. And the thing is, I want people who actually don't just care about the comics. I don't want them to just be attacking fans, or actually I don't want them to attack fans at all. What I want them to do is focus on making the best comics possible. Let their work prove how awesome their worth is. And it's not happening. And I just don't know. Like, I know people, did videos on it and everything, and I'm basically saying just look this stuff up. Like, just look it up. And you will see this is the problem with comics today. Like, you have to, they have to get back to, we are a comic book company first and everything else second. And I think that's the way these are going to be able to fix. And also, too, realize your fans are passionate. Realize there are going to be fans who are going to be jerks out there. And get these people off of Twitter and back on their keyboards and their laptops and their whatever, how they ever do to write. And focus on writing and giving the best stories possible. It's just, with IDW, it's crazy just because with all the properties they have, and they're known to be for that, they have some good stuff. 30 Days a Night was actually a really good series. It's just like, what are you guys doing? Even your My Little Pony is starting to crash. But they do have original stuff like Kanto, which I hear is really good. I only got to read a little bit of it. I do want to get into it, but I'm hearing that's great. A comic that I'm going to review that's very soon as I'm doing stuff that's incredible, Kill Lock, which is an original, and I think they need to focus on that. Start doing some more of your original. Keep your stuff going, of course, but do some more original work and get that out there too, so people start to associate you with that, like Image does. And I'm not saying Image is perfect either, but they're in a better place than IDW is right now, and they kind of should be competing with all the properties. But the fact that the guys who helped the company get out of debt put themselves in charge, they were like, well, we took on all the debt, so now we run the show. And I think the guy put his son in charge now too. Like, it's crazy. They talk about IDW's most profitable division has been its licensed comics for the last 20 years, yet they're having a ton of issues. No, it's not been profitable for the last 20 years. It's probably profitable for like the last 5 to 10, and then it just started going straight down. And they just promoted the Star Trek editor Heather Antos to run the entire division, and it's like, wait a minute. She's been called out for these kind of things. Her jobs, she has not been known to do a good job through multiple companies, yet they... And I mean, these guys, the IDW has had failing stocks. They have massive layoffs. And they're talking about expanding the staff. And it's like, they're like, okay. And you're seeing things where it's like, okay, they're throwing women in here. They're throwing this. I'm like, throw the best person in there. I don't care what your gender, what you identify as, what color you are, whatever. If you are the best person for this job and you like are just killing it, in a good way, that's what I want. And there are so many things. All you have to do is, like, they got themselves off of the New York Stock Exchange because they're doing so bad. And she was part of that milkshake thing, and you just go through the whole thing, and it's like, well, IDW, if you're trying to fix the problem, why would you put a person who, is known publicly, but not known for doing a great job, and that's the person you promote? Instead of getting people out there. And this is the problem with comic books still. And they all act like they're buddies and stuff. No, they're all like a lot of these people are backstabbers. And here's the bad part. I was told this when I was like, maybe I could try to break in one day or something. And people who were nice enough started talking to me, and I talked to some of the professionals. I will not say who, but they tell me about the crazy stuff that people do to each other inside the comic book industry, and it's crazy. It's like, why would y'all do that? You would be better off being a team, like doing this and bouncing and doing healthy competition. But nope, they don't. So it's really coming down to and I think the pandemic thing was a situation that help speed this up. But look at how many comic book places are going down. Some are closed, or they're having a lot of money issues, and it's because it's the mismanagement. It's the fact that they're trying to be entertainment instead of being comic books first, entertainment company second. And yes, comic books is part of entertainment, but I'm talking about TV and movies. Like, they're so busy trying to write comics like it's a Netflix or a movie script that they forgot that they need to just write a comic book that's successful and awesome. There's a reason why the indies are getting up, crowdfunding is getting bigger. And I know some people are like, no, it's not, and it's because of this group and CG and all that. No, forget all that noise. Kill that noise. It's the fact that what's happening is that there are people who just love comics, so they're just trying to get their comic out, and you're seeing the difference. We've never had this many indie comics be this big before. There's ones I'm upset because I can't back because I don't have enough money to back them. And it's not even because they're overpriced. It's because I've been backing several different comics because they've been great. All I'm saying is, IDW, if you really want to fix the problem, because I'm not deep diving, I'm just talking. This is more of a rant, people, so please bear with me. Literally any of this information you can look up. You can see the stuff Heather Antos has said to fans and things like that. The stuff that the guy that was running it was talking about with what their business model problem is. But if you're hiring someone that's not making bank for you, then what you're doing is you're perpetuating the same problem. You're just reorganizing where that problem happens. I don't know. Tell me what you think about the comic book industry. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to do more comic book talking and reviews and stuff. The reviews haven't happened yet. I'm actually very busy. I'm actually redoing a lot of work in my house. So I'm trying to squeeze in where I can. I know this video is longer than my normals, but you know what? It needed to be said. I needed to just get this out. I'm literally working on stuff as I'm ranting to you. So, Geek Protagonist, please, I literally would love to hear what you have to say about IDW, the comic book industry as a whole. Do you think it's fine? And I use that thing example because that's literally like the example of what we get in comic books. They're telling people off, yet they're talking to someone who's Jewish about his white privilege. Like Jewish people don't go through stuff even right now. See ya.